Hello, folks. Wager Detective back at you. We got a fantastic game here to cap. Orioles versus the Rays. The Orioles are plus 122 on the money line, and the Rays are coming back minus 144. The over is set at 7.5, minus 110 both ways per FanDuel. Before we get into this cap, be sure to follow Wager Detective on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Set alerts on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, and I appreciate any and all support I get from anyone out there. And I appreciate and love all my fans. Let's get into this cap. The Baltimore Orioles, not playing real good this year so far. 5 games below 500. They're 21-26 on the year. They're 4-6 in their last 10 games. 9-14 on the road. And the Orioles are 4-7 in one-run games. The Orioles versus the Rays head-to-head. They are 5-4 in their last 9 versus the Tampa Bay Rays, scoring 5.88 runs per game to 5.44. That comes out to 11.32 runs per game in the last 9 meetings between these teams. The Orioles have scored 5+ runs 5 times in the last 9 meetings with the Rays. Now, the Orioles are 5-5 their last 10 at Tampa Bay, scoring 3.9 runs per game to 4.7. That comes out to an 8.6. In their last 10 games at the Rays, it's been 5 over and 5 under in those games to the 7.5. So 3.9 to 4.7 respectively in their last 9 games at Tampa Bay. The Rays have scored 3 runs or less 5 times in those last 10 meetings in Tampa Bay, and the Orioles have scored 4+ runs 6 times in that split. So something to keep in mind on there. They seem to play Tampa Bay tough over their last 9, and they're 5-5 last 10 at Tampa Bay. Something to keep in mind. Now on the year, the Orioles are 5-7 in road night games on the year, 7 over, 5 under. They're scoring 4 runs a game to 5.08 for their opponents, 48 runs to 61 runs. Run differential there. That comes out to a 9.08 runs per game average in the Orioles road night games this year. The Orioles are 4-5 in their last 9 overall, 4 over, 5 under. They're only scoring 3.44 runs per game to 4.22 for their opponents. That comes out to 7.66 runs per game average. And on the year, the Orioles are 3-7 versus the division, versus the AL East. 3-7 versus the AL East this year, 8 over, 2 under. They're scoring 3.6 runs per game to 7.2 for their opponent. That comes out to 10.8 runs per game average. The Orioles were swept by their division rivals, the Yankees, in New York this year. Now, if we get who's on the mound, Trevor Rogers, last 5 outings. The Orioles are 1-4 in Rogers' last 5 outings, and the Orioles are 3-4 on the season when Rogers starts. In his last 5 outings, where the Orioles are 1-4, it's been 3 over and 2 under. So, and the Orioles have lost the last 4 outings by Trevor Rogers. In his last 5 outings, Trevor Rogers has 21.1 innings pitched, 31 hits, 20 earned runs, 8 bases on ball, 22 Ks, and has given up 5 home runs. That comes out to an 8.45 ERA, 1.83 WHIP, and a 2.11 home run per 9 over his last 5 outings. And those losses have come against the Yankees, Boston, Cleveland, and Arizona. And I got to be honest with you, Rogers has not pitched good lately. I mean, if you looked at what he did last year, he came into Baltimore, was pitching fantastic. Something seems to have changed there in his last 5 outings. But I'm not going to just say the Yankees aren't good. I'm not going to say Boston doesn't have a good lineup. Cleveland maybe not as much, but Arizona, in my opinion, has got one of the best lineups in baseball. And the one win did come against the White Sox. And we know what the White Sox are doing. One of the hottest teams in baseball right now. Took 2 out of 3 from the Cubs in that series in the Crosstown Classic. So I expect a little bit better. Now, if we look at 5 days rest this year, the Orioles are, I believe, 2-1 when he pitches on 5 days 5 days rest. 13.2 innings pitched, 16 hits, 7 earned runs, no home runs. 3 walks and 11 Ks this year when Rogers pitches on 5 days rest. So it seems like this year, from the stats I'm looking at, when he pitches on 4 days rest and 6 days rest, that's when he's getting hit the most. On 5 days rest, he seems to be considerably better. But even on 5 days rest this year, he is He does have a 4.63 ERA, a 1.40 whip, and he's not giving up any home runs. So that's markedly different than his last 5 outings, where he has an 8.45 ERA, a 1.83 whip, and 2.11 home runs per 9 his last 5 outings. But on 5 days rest, it becomes better. That ERA is basically in half, a 4.63 ERA. The whip, it goes from 1.83 to 1.40 on 5 days rest, and that 2.11 home runs per 9 goes to no home runs per 9 on 5 days rest. So I expect, if you look at this cap so far, you look at the Orioles, like I said, 21-26 on the year, 4-6 in their last 10, 9-4, 9-14 in road games. But they are 4-5 in their last 9 overall. They are 5-4 in their last 9 versus Tampa Bay. And they're 5-5 their last 10 at Tampa Bay. So some good, some bad there. You can't always look at a pitcher. The first thing a normal capper is going to look at is what has a pitcher done recency. We fade recency bias. Same thing what Wager Detective did last night in the Cleveland Cavaliers game. When everybody was going towards the Pistons, what does Wager Detective do? He said, throw the points out the window, just take the money line, and that's what I did. I specialize in those things because I'm a contrarian bettor, and there's going to be regression to the progression. I mean, at some point, Cavaliers got beat by 15 on the road. I mean, at home. Then they go on the road. It's a whole different ball game. And I think being away from home for Rodgers, who pitched well last year, he's got to. The line set at 7.5 for a reason. If they thought he was going to get shelled from his last 5 outings, the odds makers aren't setting it at 7.5 for a reason. And I don't necessarily. I think part of that has to do with McClanahan, but as we get into this cap, I do believe that even though McClanahan has looked great, I think this could be a time for him to get touched up. So let's take a look at and before we get on with the cap, his career versus Tampa Bay, he does have 20.1 innings pitched, 22 hits, 9 earned runs, 4 home runs, 8 bases on ball. That comes out to a 1.28 whip in his career versus Tampa Bay. So he's given up 4 home runs in 20 innings pitched, not really good. He saw Tampa Bay twice last year with the Orioles. He lost one 8-12 at Tampa Bay, and then he won the other game 5-3. In those games, 8 innings pitched, giving up 5 earned runs, 10 hits, a home run, 5 walks, and 7 Ks. I noticed with Tampa Bay yesterday, if you give up the walk, they're going to hurt you. I think they scored 4 of their runs yesterday for Tampa Bay in that win against who they play against Miami. 4 of the runs that came across the plate were runs that happened from walks. If you do not walk this team and force them to hit, it's better than letting guys get in free passes. So if I'm Trevor Rogers, I'm trying to find the strike zone, find it early, pound the zone, and let them try to hit the ball. I mean, they're doing good against left-handed hitting as we get into this cap. Let's take a look at the Rays here. The Rays are 30-15 on the year. They're 11-2 against left-handed pitching, which they'll see today in Trevor Rogers. They're 7-3 in their last 10, 5-3 in extra inning games, and the Tampa Bay Rays are 9-1 in one-run games and 10-2 versus the AL East. So I see all that. I see a minus 144, and I can see the public going with that because Rogers isn't pitching well, Baltimore ain't pitching well. But let's remember, Baltimore woke up yesterday with the bats. I think he could roll over into this game. They're not going that far. Washington to Tampa Bay, a little bit of a flight, but it's right along the coast. I don't think the travel spot's going to be a problem. The Rays are going to stay put at home. But Rays, like I said, they're coached by one of the best managers in baseball, Kevin Cash. I love him as a manager. One of my top 3 favorite managers in baseball, along with A.J. Hinch is right there, and a couple other guys out there. The Cubs manager and the counsel, I like him too. So again, the Rays 30-15 on the year, 7-3 last 10, 5-3 in extra innings. So if they're 7-3 in their last 10, they're winning. That right there is a 70% clip. Minus 144 on the money line is not coming out to a 70% implied probability. I'll tell you that right now. So I think they're expecting both these pitchers to kind of pitch well. So let's get into the cap further. The Rays are 8-4 in home night games this year, 7 over, 5 under. That's 7.5. and they are scoring 4.25 runs per game to 4.08 for their opponent. Comes out to 8.33 runs per game. So they're 8-4 at home. But if you look at the disparity in the run differential overall between their wins and losses, 4.25 runs per game to 4.8 shows that they're playing close games and home night games this year. Now, last night overall, the Rays are 6-3, 7 over, 2 under. They're scoring 5.33 runs per game to 4.22 for their opponents. That comes out to 9.55 runs per game. Those wins in their last 9 have come against Boston, Toronto, and Miami. Now, if I'm looking at both those teams, if I'm looking at all those teams compared to what Baltimore is, I do believe that Baltimore is the better lineup there overall, and they got way more talent. I don't know about Boston necessarily, but I do think they have way more talent when it comes to those teams, Boston, Toronto, and Miami. I think Baltimore, before the end of the season, will show that. I think it's going to be something to definitely keep in mind when you're betting this team going further. I do believe that they have talent there, pitching-wise, bullpen-wise, not necessarily. Their starting pitching, questionable, but again, they're going to play a lot better than what they've been playing this year, and I think the Orioles will wake up. So again, the Rays 6-3 in their last 9, wins coming in against Boston, Toronto, and Miami. Toronto, putrid. I don't believe in their lineup. Miami, better than Toronto, I think, overall. But if you look at the pitching yesterday, Yuri Perez got into a lot of trouble by walking batters. He cannot walk batters. If you're this guy Rogers tonight, you cannot walk batters. You've got to find ways to get the ball over the plate, keep it down, find your spot. You got to pitch like Greg Maddux. You got to locate well. So again, Rays looking good. Home night games 8-4, 6-3, last 9 overall in their games. And they're 10-2 versus the American League East this year. 7 over, 5 under. Average score 4.75 runs per game for the Rays to 3.16 for their AL East counterparts. That's a 57-38 run differential there. They did sweep the Yankees this year. Very impressive. So 10-2 versus the American League East this year are the Rays. So all those metrics, you'd be looking at it and you'd be like, how do you not go with the Rays? How is the Rays not to play? How do we go wrong here? Minus 144. I got to lay $14 for every 10. If I lay 144, I make a quick 100. If I lay 1,400, I make a quick 1,000 on Tampa Bay, especially with what you're about to hear. Now, here's another part of the cap that favors the Rays, home to home. So home-to-home series, no rest. They are 6-3 in their last 9, okay, dating back to last year. So it's a situational split where they just finished a home series, and now they're going to have another home series with no rest. Start a new home series with no rest. In that first game of that home series, no rest series, they are 6-3 in their last 9. 5 over, 4 under in that split. They're scoring 5.66 runs per game to 4.88 for their opponents. That comes out to 10.54. And if you look at all these metrics, I don't buy the fact that either one of these pitchers is going to shove today. I think this game gets over 7.5. Whether they start off good, I think you could still get runs early on. I do believe that for whatever reason, I got a feeling that McClanahan is going to get touched here. It's not going to probably show that in the splits I'm going to tell you about this guy. If the Rays are 4-1 in their last 5 games when Shane McClanahan starts, 2 over, 3 under. They beat Toronto twice, San Francisco, and Minnesota. So let's pump the brakes there, right? You're 4-1. The Rays are 4-1 in their last 5 when McClanahan starts, but against Toronto twice, San Francisco, and Minnesota. I said this before. Toronto is paper mache's. They need to fire that manager over there. He made it to the World Series last year. I don't know how. They got lucky, lightning in a bottle at the right time. They will not win it. They will not go to another World Series anytime soon, especially with that manager and the way they're constructed. They really just don't have pitching. Gausman is absolutely putrid, and they just don't have the pitching. They don't have the guys on the mound. So, and you beat San Francisco and Minnesota. Baltimore is going to be markedly better than all those teams over the course of the year. All metrics are going to point to that. So keep that in mind. But in his last 5 outings, McClanahan has 28 innings pitched, 19 hits, 4 earned runs, 4 walks, 28 Ks, no home runs. That comes out to a 1.29 ERA and a 0.82 whip. Very, very impressive. Now, the Rays are also 4-0 when McClanahan starts on 5 days rest. Those wins came against the Cubs, Minnesota, San Francisco, and Toronto. So the Rays 4-0 in McClanahan starts on 5 days rest against the Cubs, Minnesota, San Francisco, and Toronto. None of those lineups except the Cubs am I impressed with. Minnesota, San Francisco, and Toronto. Don't be surprised if they all finished 500 or worse. And if they do get over 500, it's not going to be by that much. None of those teams, other than the Cubs, will win 90 games. None of those teams will win 85. The only one, it'll probably be the Cubs. So keep that in mind when you're looking at this cap. The Rays 4-0 this year on McClanahan's when he pitches on 5 days rest. 20 innings pitched, 10 hits, 2 earned runs, 7 walks, and 24 Ks. So this cap comes down to this, guys. I mean, all metrics are leaning towards the Rays between how they play in home night games, how they play last night overall, how they've played against the American League East where they're 10-2. Home-to-home splits, they're 6-3 in their last 9. But in all those metrics, teams are finding a way to get to 4 runs per average on a number of those splits. So definitely keep that in mind. And also, in the Orioles 6-3 last 9 overall, their opponents have scored 5+ runs 4 times in those 9 games. So I think the Orioles come out tonight. I like the plus money on the Orioles. You're only getting plus 122. To me, it's not the kind of value you want to get. But I do believe in progression to the regression. I do believe that the 7.5 is set for a reason, even though he's not Rogers isn't pitching well. I'm going to call it right here, right now. Wager Detective is calling the Orioles plus 122 on the money line. As far as that over-under, I don't believe this game will go under. I believe it'll go over the 7.5 from all the things we've seen. And I think if it does, it's going to be because the Orioles edge out Tampa Bay. And since they're only 4-7, the Orioles, in one-run games, and the Tampa Bay is 9-1 in one-run games, and they're going to get the last at bat, I would probably go with the Orioles on the run line here. I would take the Orioles. Let's take a look here. Let's see what you can get the Orioles. I think they jump out in this game. I think they looked great yesterday. Not against the pitcher that they're going to see today. They had their way yesterday with the pitcher they've seen, but it's not going to be McClanahan. But again, if you look at McClanahan's stats, you got to factor in who they're against. And I believe the Orioles, this is going to be a time for them in a game like this to kind of wake up. To wake up and smell the coffee. Now you can see here, the line was plus 122 this morning. I marked it. Now it's down to plus 116. Guys, get on that. Get on that. I mean, it's a tell, man. Who's moving a line like that at this time of the day? Squares and regular bettors are not betting during the day. They're waiting before game time. And I guarantee you, before game time, I don't know what it'll move to, but jump on the Orioles now. As soon as I get off this, finishing with this video, I'm definitely going to jump on it. That's going to be my play today. The Orioles. Wager Detective calling the Orioles plus 116 to win the game on the money line. And thank you for watching the video. I kept this below 20 minutes. I'm going to try to do better at keeping it a little bit tighter. So thank you for watching. Follow Wager Detective on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And more than anything else in the world, Wager Detective loves all his fans. Let's go Baltimore. I'll talk to you soon.